Hi everyone, welcome to Schmirchik Tipsy Tarot. I tried to fix my program here to do live readings, but I don't know how to do technical stuff. I have to ask my boyfriend but he's sleeping now, so I'll have to do that another time. I watched this video on these sisters, really evil sisters. Apparently they killed their father allegedly, so I'm gonna watch this with you and give my 2 cents. I hope it doesn't echo like my other videos.
So, stuff here.
Fine. Cheer. Let's do this on slightly quicker mode.
So, Schmidt, your correct spelling of your name. Can you just do that for me, if you don't mind?
Mary, M-A-R-Y.
Okay. And then space? Or is it?
On my birth certificate, it's just Mary. But sometimes on my license, there's never been a hyphen. Sometimes it's separated, Mary, back.
But it's supposed to be together, though. That's what it says.
Tameselli is T-O-M-A-S-E-L-L-I.
And your current address?
3510. Way. M-B-L-E-Y. Number 1. Almona. 64685. 286.
And your phone?
77 45 5920.
5920?
Correct.
So, like I said, I appreciate you coming here. So, and I know you're not trying to do it. The way I am, and I'm not here to get my neck, I'm just talking to you. I like honesty. Okay? And I know you're the type of person that's the same way. I see it. I see it. And I know you're still trying to figure out.
So he's telling her that he sees that she's an honest person. I guess that's the way to loosen her up.
Yeah, it's going on. Okay, but I want you, right now is your opportunity that we're going to be honest.
Okay.
All right? And we can go from there. All right? So, that being said, I want to talk to you, and I want to explain everything to you. But prior to doing, we're here at the sheriff's office. I mean, we're in the United States rights. So I just got to read your rights, and then we'll get into it. Okay? All right? Is that okay? Okay. So, don't freak out. Don't freak out.
I'm just like,
All right, so you have the right to remain silent. Doesn't mean you're under arrest or anything. I just want to talk to you. So I just have to explain to you. Okay.
Okay, so you explain to you, understand.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to the lawyer and have no present if you want to question. You cannot afford to hire a lawyer. One will be appointed to represent you before you. Represent you before any questions you wish. You can decide any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. You understand these rights on to you?
yes.
Okay. Having your rights to you to talk. So like I said to you, I want to explain everything to you. All right? So that's what we need. You okay with that? Okay. So, first of all, do you have any idea why you're here? A slight idea of anything you want to hear?
I think I may have an
Okay.
Let's talk about that. Tell me what goes in here.
It's okay. Listen, my God, I like honesty. Okay. I'm looking at you, and I know something's involved. Okay, and that's normal. Do I think you're a bad person? I don't. Okay. Do I think you listen? People make mistakes. Okay? I make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. We're not perfect. Okay. However, I always raise, just like with your daughter, you have a daughter, right? You expect two of right? You raise them to be truthful. Okay. You expect, hey, if they make mistakes, own up to their mistake, and move forward, learn from it, and go from there.
Well, apparently, these two sisters, they their father was lucid, but he didn't have a very good relationship with this lady's sister, and he had money, and before they didn't want to take care of him, and they wanted his money, so they could have put him into an assisted living facility where he could like get the care he needs, but it would cost a lot of money, so they would lose part of their inheritance, or most of it. So what they did was the father was lying in the bed. Her and her sister, they closed his nose and his mouth. He was alive. He knew what was happening, and they closed his nose and his mouth until he died. They basically suffocated him, and they spoke about it with the guy they both slept with. Her and her sister slept with this guy, and she spoke to him because she had to get it off her chest, and he was recording it, and then he took it to the police, and that's how they got caught.
Is that right? The way we were talking in the car, and the way that I can see, because I've been doing this.
Excuse my sniffing.
30-something years. Okay, so I really good at reading on people, and I can see that. And something's really bothering you, and you know that I know what's bothering you.
So all adults, unless this video is wrong about what's going on, is that fair? You seem like a very upfront type of person, so you know what.
Yes, I'll go to Kleenex.
Oh, yeah, go.
Let me go.
Stand by for a second.
Go get her Kleenex because she might start crying.
That's fine.
Or she maybe is already crying.
So like I explained, you know where you're at. So, and you know why we're here. And you know why you're here. Okay? So I can tell things have been bothering you. And I know it's not. So I want to hear from you. What happened? Yes, ma'am.
Shall I go back to
We're here. We have time. Okay?
Oh, yeah, go back to where you need to begin, this way.
My father, well, first my mom and stepmom, they weren't married, my father, and my children weren't married. I've been together 15 years, and she had heart problems.
Yes, ma'am.
And the year before she died, she's in the hospital in the middle, so with surgeries and different things.
Did they live together? Or
Yes,
they
yes,
live together?
yes,
Okay, go ahead.
yeah, they just weren't married.
Okay, they live
She
together.
was like my mother.
Okay.
She could fix them.
Okay.
She got sick, and it was about a year that she was sick in the hospital. My father, Alzheimer's and dementia runs in my family, and I've already been talking with my doctor about it. That's how it runs in the genes, and I can't remember a lot of things, and I am forgetful, and I make sure it's not just normal. But anyway, my father's and it goes back in generations, all of my family, all of my aunts had it run really bad. My father had, his mental was getting rather bad.
His mental state?
His mental state.
Okay.
You would have to tell him basically to eat. You couldn't get up alone.
Okay. You need supervision.
He needed supervision.
Okay.
Shirley was in the hospital now all the time, or in a rehab, so she was not at home. Her niece, who was a drug addict, was staying there at the house, at dad's house, to help her aunt and help out around because she didn't have a job and she didn't have any money.
Right.
So, and my brother and my sister and I, we all had jobs and we all had work, so we couldn't be there during the day.
Right.
So it became more, the sicker Shirley got, and the more, then she said, it's your father, you need to come on the weekends and spend time, or if Shirley goes in the hospital in the middle of the night, you're going to be called, and you need to take care of your father, which is understandable. So our lives had changed. My sister was married, she wasn't as accessible, and I think she had a mild stroke. She had a bit of hypochondriac, so I don't remember exactly all of her illnesses.
Hypochondriac, whatever she said, is about like a person that thinks they're always sick when they're not sick. They're just afraid that they're sick.
We had Wish or Pizza down there, and he couldn't come up all the time, always. So most of the time, I was called because I lived just in Tampa in West Chase. So I would,
It's close.
I was
You can
closer.
talk back and forth.
So, if my father needed something, but most of the time I was starting to spend, every weekend, or he would call me at 4 in the morning, I would go over there, and I would spend every weekend with him, take him, we'd sit, but all day, go to church, go to
Was it a
dinner.
nursing home or was it his house?
No, I would stay at his house with him. He was not a nursing home. We had found that he had a policy for for my mom, that he had prepaid for an assisted living or a nursing home for 3 years. He had prepaid for that. So even, he did get Alzheimer's or had a stroke or something, he had already paid for it. It wouldn't have to come out of his insurance and so forth for 3
Understood.
years. So we knew that. So we knew he was going downhill almost literally weekly. He was changing, okay, with Shirley and everything. So we went ahead and my brother and sister and I, we looked at assisted livings. We found one on I think it's called Brookdale.
Yes.
Okay. And but we didn't tell him that because we knew she was dying.
Right. And what year was this with her?
Oh, it's.
He passed in 2015, so we're back to
She
that.
died 3 weeks before.
3 weeks, so this is pretty much at the same time that we're talking about.
Yeah,
Okay.
she died on February 22nd on her birthday.
Mhm.
And then my father tomorrow would be
To die on your birthday is considered like a really, for people who have a very high soul, if they die on their birthday, it's like a very honorable thing.
Yeah. And so we thought that would be best for him because we can't quit work and go with my father.
Because it was very trying to take care of you on your job.
Right. And he had this policy that when he would be okay. We would still visit him and so forth, but he would be taken care of during the day without having someone to come in and take care of him during the day. But his Alzheimer's was getting so bad, we had to take, my sister was power of attorney, we did have to take the checkbook away because Shirley was in the hospital and she was paying the bills and so forth. And my father, we could put anything in front of him. So someone had to take control.
That makes sense.
So
She was doing it beforehand, so somebody needed to take charge of the
Shirley couldn't do
situation.
it, so we had to do that.
Understood.
But the sister was worse than my father's Alzheimer's and understanding of what was really going on. A lot of people want to know now when they know. He was hoping that she wasn't dying. And
He might have known this deep down. He knew maybe he did not know.
No.
He couldn't comprehend that
He
for
couldn't
something.
comprehend whether she was dying.
Okay.
He knows that she was in the hospital, but he felt she was coming home.
Right.
And
But you guys probably knew she
we
probably
didn't
not.
think she was.
Okay.
She had, everyone in her family had died by the age of 40, and she lived to be 80.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
she
a
had
long okay.
many, many surgeries, but that's the way it was. But my father was, the dementia had set in. I don't know if he was taking any medication for the dementia
Right.
or anything. He may have denied it, or it's just no way you couldn't tell that he was. And he was up all night. He drank very heavily, and he always had since we were little. Both my parents did. And we saw my father going downhill. And one night, and I don't remember, we told him, this was after Shirley had died, and my sister and I were staying at the house because we were getting things together. We just spent the night at his house because he couldn't be left alone overnight. I'd leave at 4 in the morning. She wasn't working. Okay.
So she couldn't leave her father alone overnight because something would happen to him, but at the end of the day, they were the angel of death. They were the ones that were the most dangerous to their father.
So I think 5 or 6 years now. I think she was going through a divorce at that time.
Okay.
So I would leave at 4, drive to Tampa, get ready for work, and then go to work. Nonetheless, watching my father, and also we had received a phone call. He had lung cancer.
Right.
I can't remember how many years ago right now, and had part of his lung removed. And we got that call within a week's time from the doctor. He had a doctor's appointment. I think the day after Shirley passed away. I can't remember exactly.
That's about the time.
The doctor said they did a chest X because he always had a cough, but then he was also smoking on the side. We knew he was smoking cigarettes.
Okay.
He knew better, but we could smell it on him.
So he was still smoking even though he was not smoking. All right.
But they said they had found a large mass in his other lung, and he was going to have to go in the next day to the pulmonologist. And with his dementia so bad, and him, we had several arguments when we told him that he was.
Between you guys and him, me and your
Right,
sister.
my brother and my sister and I
Trying to
finally,
get into the home.
right, once Shirley had passed away, we told him, Dad, you have this policy, and you have an option, because you can't live alone here, and we can't live with
right.
you. And we went ahead and we took him to the assisted living and showed it to him. He was not happy. He balked at it. We knew he didn't want to go there,
Right.
obviously, which I'm sure, because he was used to his home. but we couldn't have changed our
Of course.
lives.
Right.
But his dementia and his temperament had changed, and I can see him when we were trying to explain to him that this is the way it's going to be, Dad. You're going to have about 3 weeks, and we'll put the house up for sale, or you can rent it out, but you're going to have to be in an assisted living. You have your own apartment, and it wasn't even into the dementia area.
You know, in Chinese culture, it's like considered essential and a great honor, and also mandatory to take care of your parents. They're brought up that way to know that you don't just dump them in some facility. You take care of them until the end. But here, they didn't even want to put him in a facility. They changed their mind, and
Yeah, it was just the regular part. But we knew.
You have staff so that you can check on it or whatever.
But we knew he was not going to be able to last in that regular part of the assisted living, and he was going to have to be put in the dementia area.
But this may be a transition, at least to get him back on
Well,
the
maybe for a week.
Not very long though, because he's going to have.
Because
Okay.
you had to live with him to see how it was. And he was getting very angry and very agitated, and I remember several conversations with him, and he would get up and he would stomp his feet, and he would call us, "Who made you the jury and the judge and make the choice for me to?"
Right.
I'm sorry to do this.
Oh, no, you're right.
This is and more confusing and more understanding. He was uncontrollable, basically.
you know, technically they could have just gotten him a nurse to like all around 24-hour care. Do you know what I mean? They didn't have to dump him in a facility or sell his home, or like he's right. Who gave them the right to just dump him somewhere?
And
You didn't have time to basically, because you had your life going on, to stay there in the house, right?
Right, I had to make a living.
You have to make a living. You have your life.
Right.
Look, I'm not gonna deny that it's hard to take care of a parent or a loved one, but that's not okay just to ditch them when things get hard. You know, like they took care of you when you were a little baby, when you wouldn't have lasted without them, and it's like a cycle. Life is a cycle. We're a baby, our parents take care of us to survive us, and then we become a baby ourselves when we're really, really old. And I think it's karmic, and it's also the way life works. You're supposed to take care of your parents when they can't take care of themselves after that.
Right.
And you didn't want to go into the home.
He didn't want to go into home. But the other thing was the lung cancer coming back. He was going to have surgery, the chemotherapy, and everything else that goes with that.
So what?
And with his dementia. I believe it was on a Wednesday evening. He came home from work.
You did?
Yeah, I came home. My sister was already there.
So your sister, who? So
It was just me and my sister and my father.
okay.
We made him a drink. We drank a couple Cokes and vodkas that night,
So
every night.
you said that you and earlier you said that you guys talked.
Yeah, okay. So my oldest daughter.
Okay. Who's that?
Her name is Lauren Johnson.
Okay.
She was in the other bedroom.
Oh, so
my oldest daughter has a past. My oldest daughter is bipolar.
Okay.
She has been in jail.
Okay. Right.
I've enabled her and I've tried.
Like mother, like daughter, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
18, she's tried to commit suicide several times. I've been into a lot with her.
Understand.
What happens, but nonetheless, she's still my daughter. And
That's your daughter.
You know, I'm going off track anyway. This one night, I came home and my sister, who's in the medical field, she's a certified medical assistant.
Oh, she's an assistant?
CMA.
Okay.
What's your name?
Linda Roberts.
Okay, continue.
She told me that she had been thinking about Dad and his situation with his lung cancer coming back, with what we're going to deal with, his dementia, him not understanding, and what it was going to be like for him. And he was, the way we felt he was suffering, the way we felt he was suffering, she said she thought that perhaps we could take him out of his suffering.
Is this a conversation you had in person or over the phone?
No, together.
You were together.
So her daughter had this murder plan. Wow, I wonder if she's going to be indicted also.
We were laying in bed together.
Okay, just making sure I understand what you're saying. Okay, continue. Sorry.
So you guys were laying, it was you and your sister. Okay. And this was that Wednesday?
I believe
Wednesday.
it was.
So then what did you say to that?
Well, at that moment, after everything, the way things were at this time, I had hesitations. However, I understand I don't have the right to take someone's like that's what you're asking me.
Okay.
I know right from wrong.
Okay.
However, I felt I couldn't see my father at 88.
You know, it's one thing if her father agreed and begged them to kill him, even in that instance, that would be wrong. But here they're the ones that acted as the executioner and the jury and the judge, like her father said before. Like, who are you to like sell my house and put me somewhere? You know, if they really felt like they couldn't handle seeing him suffer, hire someone to look after him. Hire someone to take him to the doctors. You don't have to be there all the time.
Going through this surgery, I didn't think he was going to make it through this surgery, this dementia. I couldn't handle watching my father suffer this way 24/7, the way he was going. Unless you lived with him and saw him, and I was with him from Friday night through Sunday morning when he went to work. I was the one that was with him. I couldn't. I honestly felt that
Such bullshit.
I couldn't watch my father suffer this way.
Such bullshit.
So I agreed with her.
And what was the plan?
Her plan was my father took sleeping pills at night. He took Xanax as well, and blood pressure, and cholesterol. I don't remember exactly what medications my father took. And she said that if we were to do this, when my dad had a drink that evening,
her father was lucid enough to know he wants his drink at night, to remember that he likes alcohol. Like a real person that has Alzheimer's, they wouldn't even remember that they want alcohol or anything, you know? Like, her father was lucid. He was still like a functioning person, even though she claims that, he had Alzheimer's. Apparently it wasn't so far into the late stages of the sickness where he doesn't know what's happening to be able to argue with them.
Thursday evening, that we would put, she thought, I think 15 of his sleeping pills, and I don't remember if they were capsules, honestly, or if they were tablets, put it in his drink, and he would make a big drink.
What was that alcohol?
Vodka and Coca-Cola, okay, I believe.
You drink this every night?
We would drink 2 or 3 every day. And most nights he could already walk, and he was always falling in the bed, falling down into the bathroom. And she said we would put the sleeping pill in his drink. We asked for it at about 9 or 10 o'clock. I can't remember about what time. Now, first I would take him for a ride to the beach. He would want to go to the beach every night. He'd give us his legs too. And I would drive him. Sometimes we would get to Sunset Point and then we'd turn around. Sometimes we'd get all the way to the beach and turn around. That was our nightly ritual. So I came back and I don't remember if she was with. She was with that night in the car. And when we came home, it was premeditated. And so I am the one that put the sleeping pills in.
Let me ask you this. Your daughter.
My sister had, my dad had 2 bedrooms. And my oldest daughter was in the other bedroom, but she didn't have a sister.
You know, this is her daughter giving her a suggestion to kill her father, her grandfather. What would she do to her own mother? You know?
Giving her a sleeping pill. She needs to sleep.
So she can sleep through, so this...
Right, her door was closed.
So she did not know what this was going on as far as you know? Okay. But you didn't know this at the time, but she told you subsequently that she gave her a sleeping pill?
Oh yeah, she did tell me that she gave her a sleeping pill. Yeah.
So, you're fine.
And so I don't know a lot about those medications. I didn't realize that, that she thought it was going to be a small glass of drink. But I made him his regular one. So her calculation was off.
Okay. So then what did you give him?
So he was sitting on the couch.
Okay.
And he usually had his nightly prayers, always he said his little prayers.
That's a nightly ritual he would do. Okay.
What do you have, like little prayer cards?
Yeah, prayer cards. Some of them were in Italian.
Her father was still lucid, you know? He still had life in him. He was walking, even though he was falling. So what?
Everything.
Okay, so then go on.
So he did that, and we gave him his drink, and with her calculations, he would have passed away calmly.
Okay.
Yes, was it the hardest thing I ever did? Yes.
Okay.
However, the portion of the drink opposed to the medication didn't work.
Okay.
So the glass dropped. It affected him, but it didn't pass away.
So what did he do?
It gives me chills that people can be so convinced in what they're doing is right and sit there and admit to such a thing and she played as the angel of death, essentially, you know, so there's something evil in her that did this.
So he was kind of struggling around, and at this point, you had seconds. This after this wasn't playing. After this, what to do next?
Okay.
I followed her lead.
Okay.
And so she said, okay, now I had to be quiet. She said, let's put a pillow over her bed.
Okay.
And that didn't work because he was
So who put?
I don't remember which one of us put the pillow over his face.
And where was your dad when you were
He's in
there?
the couch.
So he was
In the living room.
In the living room.
Understood.
He was real quiet.
Okay.
We didn't, there wasn't any.
So she's admitting he was strong. She's admitting that the guy is strong, her father's strong. He still has a fight in him. He still has life in him. And she took it into her own hands, her and her sister and her daughter, to kill the man.
And
No excuse for that.
because he was very strong and he was pushing it off.
He's very strong. Did you hear that? He's very strong.
And so she said, okay, the next thing we'll have to do is we have to get a washcloth and put it in his mouth, and we're going to have to hold his nose, and we
Hold his arm.
have to finish what we had started.
Okay. So at that time.
I think I held his, I don't know how I held his nose, and I had to try to hold his arms down because.
So you kind of pinned him down.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So was he?
Imagine he's around his own daughters. He's lucid. He's strong enough. He gets drugged, and then his own children, who he's supposed to trust, holds him down so he's feeling helpless, and they kill him like that. Imagine how terrified he must have been.
Right. So he was
He
fighting.
was fighting, of course he was fighting to get that.
Okay.
But so this happened, I mean, it didn't take very long for this, and once there was no air coming in, I don't know. And honestly, I didn't black out, but I can't, it was like an out-of-body experience. I can't remember exactly, but that's exactly how it went.
So then once, your sister grabbed the washcloth
Yeah.
and put it in his mouth, and you held his nose and arms.
Yeah, tried.
And he was fighting the whole time?
Yeah, for maybe a minute or so. I honestly can't.
Her father wanted to live. He wanted to live. He still had the fight in him, and their daughters, cruelly, creepily. So evil.
Very long. And he did have a pacemaker, because she kept, but you could see that he wasn't breathing, but his pacemaker.
It's mechanical, obviously. So.
Obviously,
Right.
I know medical billing, I don't know the other side of the
But it
billing.
makes sense that probably is how that went.
Right.
All right.
And so, when we realized that he had passed on, we went to bed, I slept in my clothes.
She should have said when we realized she murdered her father. That's what she should have said.
Sleep.
You went ahead.
He went to bed.
Both of them.
And he
You
was
went
on, he
ahead.
was on the couch, and my daughter never woke up,
Was he sitting on the couch or laying on the couch?
laying on the couch.
Okay.
At that time.
Halfway on, laying, half of his legs were on the floor.
And he kind of slouched over and kind of
No,
pushed on the couch.
yeah, his head was on the, laying back on the.
Honestly, I would be shocked if these sisters didn't kill before, because they're just so like, it's like normal to them to do such a thing.
Lower torso. Okay.
So we got,
You end up going into bed.
and then I got up to go to work, I think 5:36 in the morning, or maybe, I can't remember, to go back to Tampa, and then the rest.
So,
I
all right,
called the sheriff.
now who made the call?
I don't remember.
How did you get your daughter?
We called 911. Yes, we called my daughter. Called 911. Said we found my father on the couch and he stopped breathing. My sister did actually jump on top of him, was trying to do CPR.
Which you guys knew.
Which,
And it was all planned for.
one night was planned.
So what I'm saying is, so when the deputies arrived.
Oh no, yeah, I don't know why she did that.
Did she do CPR while he was on the couch or was he moving?
No, on the couch.
She tried to CPR.
It was probably just for show, for sure, just for show, to do CPR. They know he's long dead.
800 pounds, so she sat on top of him and was trying to do CPR.
Okay.
So whether it was trying to or
Acting like she was
oh my
trying
God,
or something.
What did we do? I can't be in her mind at this point, and in mine at this point, but it was, I'm telling you the truth.
I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
And I really do, Mary Beth, appreciate you being honest with us. And, you know, it's probably been inside all these years. Okay. And it's sort of, you know, sometimes it's, you know, all that's building up in you. And it kind of somewhat, yes, you know, there's you're going to feel a lot better at this point that it's off. And
I don't
think she'll
now you can
feel
move on.
better.
Okay.
I'll never move on from this, ever.
So who decided what story to tell the deputy of what happened?
Oh, we told him that we mixed in his drink, and which is true. Sometimes he would stay up till midnight and watch basketball games, or whatever, baseball.
Right.
I don't remember, but the TV was on, and which was nothing. Basically, other than what we had done, was unusual for my father. He would make
That was a regular routine.
The fact that her father still had his routine. He'd watch his movies. He'd drink his alcohol. He would smoke his cigarettes. He still had life in him. He wasn't that far gone. And even if he were, what they did was cruel and wrong. And wow.
And then stumble to bed, and we could hear him stumbling, because we would be in the bedroom, so we could hear him stumbling. But so the sheriffs came, and of course we did not tell them what we did.
You know, if they wouldn't have gotten caught, what would happen is as they got on in years, the same thing would happen to them. And their own kids would have done the same thing to them because, you know, kids learn from what they see.
But in my mind, at that time, I felt I couldn't see my father suffering. I know I don't have the right to do that. But at that time, I felt I couldn't see him suffering with surgery and going through that as well.
And what about now?
What about now?
What do you think now?
I think I did the right thing. I still don't think I could live with myself watching my father suffer.
She thinks she did the right thing. She had no regrets. She's a psychopath.
You would have to see the way he was acting all day, and he was like kind of crazy.
They couldn't handle that he was crazy. Okay, so the guy's crazy. Hire someone to look after him 24/7. You don't need to hang out with him all day, you know?
And every day it was getting worse and worse on him.
You guys could see the light in the tunnel, what was happening here. The dementia, the cancer was not going to be good. He didn't have survived surgery.
Right.
He
may have survived this.
And he also may not. 88 is not.
The way she described this, I do not believe for 1 second that the father was so far gone. I don't believe it for a second.
So
No,
I understand
that's
that.
true. But
Excuse me, fart included for the fart lovers.
felt that I couldn't watch my father
Dedicated to this woman.
without his mind and not knowing what he was going on. And I know they have medications for that and so forth. But at that time, dealing with...
She just didn't want to deal with her father because he was annoying. That's all it was. It's not that he was suffering. I take from this interview that she just didn't want to deal with her father because he was annoying. He was irritating her. He was disrupting her life.
Shirley and my father, taking it, going upside down with his dementia, getting even worse, and the way he was acting every day. I didn't have the heart to sit and watch it. I couldn't do it.
Okay.
So this was all, so you're saying that this was all...
I had never thought of it in a million years until just like that.
Basically, to let it brought this up to you.
Yeah, within this short period of time, it never ever crossed my
But the
mind.
night before you guys talked about it, and like you said, it was premeditated.
Yes, sir.
And you knew you were going to kill your father. That was the plan, to try to give him a lethal dose of sleeping medicine.
And what she had done was she was on the same sleeping medication, and I think she had extra because we couldn't.
Meaning Linda,
My sister
okay,
Linda.
okay.
So she couldn't have less in her bottle, or we could have taken 15 pills out of his, and then
That's for this lady, special.
it'd be short.
I understand.
So we didn't touch his. I believe it was hers.
Okay, so his would still be intact. You're talking about there might be a discrepancy in the pill count.
Right.
So you take that hang out of his and just put it in his drink.
Exactly.
So then it was decided between you guys that you would take the stuff out of Linda's then and use her
Correct.
prescription medication, whatever it is. Okay.
So there was no sign, so it would be all, when the deputy got there,
When the
they
deputy-
looked at
when
it, they would think it would be natural,
After,
no suspicion.
after they took my father and they took him off the couch and laid him on the ground, and I guess they had to see the blood that had sinks down, and they see a sort of estimate time of death by looking at that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I don't remember all the questions, but they asked who's the person that fills your coffee. He had a pill bottle, pill count, and I was the one that filled the pill count at night.
It just goes to show that even people that look refined, people that don't curse, like you see she's talking like a normal person, people who seem upper class, that have money, well brought up, it can be murderers, just like her. Cold-blooded.
And so I had to count each one and so forth, and everything came out exactly.
As it should be. You didn't use any of those.
I didn't use any of those.
You used the ones that your sister brought.
That's
Let me ask you, who decided to, or was it a joint effort, who decided to use her pills versus his? Was that just a joint effort? Right. It makes sense. I understand what you're saying. Make sure you throw it down. I understand. Okay.
Yeah, it made sense.
Right. Now, let me ask you this. Who else have you told about this or talked about it? I know who was there since this point.
The only person is this monster of a man that I met this.
You mean a big person? Or you mean
No, I'm
monster?
saying he is a very bad.
He's a bad person, is what you're saying. Okay.
I met him and went out with him 4 times.
Right.
His name is Anthony Marsh.
Okay.
What'd she say? He's a bad person?
We're going to, and everything, came out
As
exactly.
it should be. You didn't use any of
I
those.
didn't use any of those.
You used the ones that your sister brought.
That's correct.
Let me ask you, who decided to, or was it a joint effort, who decided to use her pills versus his? Was that just a joint effort? Was hers Linda's? Right. It makes sense. I understand what you're saying. Make sure you throw what you're telling me. I understand. Okay.
Yeah, it made sense.
Right. Now, let me ask you this. Who else have you told about this or talked about it? I know who was there, but since this
The
point.
only person is this monster of a man that I met this.
Do you mean he's a big person, or what do you
No,
mean he's a
I'm
monster?
saying he is a very bad.
He's a bad person, is what you're saying. Okay.
I met him and went out with him 4 times.
Right.
His name is Anthony Marsh.
Okay.
And my sister and I were going to go to the grave, and we were never going to tell anyone of what we had done.
Right.
And yeah, it has.
She's saying that this guy is a bad guy for exposing them. Anthony Marsh was apparently the guy that she dated and her sister dated. She tells them he's a bad man, but he's the one that turned them in.
And evidently, she eventually, I think it was this week, this is Tuesday, last Thursday, he came home from work, and he's sitting on my car, and he showed up, and he said he needed to talk to me. I don't talk to this man. He's been dating my sister. I dated him maybe back in July. I went out with him 4 times, and I broke up with him because he was married, he was a musician, and he's a monster.
So you don't have anything to do with
I
it.
don't have anything to do with him. I broke it, and I found out he had injunctions against him.
He's a monster?
My daughter told me that. So
You want nothing to do with it.
and the only time I had anything to do with him is when because my sister was still dating him.
You just spoke to us about.
No, because he basically blackmailed me on the last Thursday night. He came to my yes, he came to my house. He said he needed to talk to me about something very important. Now,
She's probably lying here.
No, but
She's probably lying here. I don't believe her. Let's see, Anthony Marsh. Interrogation. Marsh. Musician. And, what's her name? The sisters. We'll look at this after. Right here. So basically, Anthony Marsh, he's the one that got them into trouble. He's the one that turned them into the authorities. Let's watch her first. And then we'll go back to the other one. What's this?
6 of them. A little bit. Because he had a drink every night anyway.
Who had a drink every night?
My dad. Just put him in a little bit of alcohol. 6, 7 of them. And stir them up. Because he was waiting for a drink.
Average alcohol?
Yeah. Vodka. So, what did she do? She makes a drink this big.
Her death?
Yes. Instead of making a little drink, she makes a big drink. Because the 7 halcyon, I think it was halcyon when he was big, which are very strong. And then plenty enough just to let him go to sleep and sleep peacefully. So she makes a drink this big. You can't drink a drink this big. So I looked at her and I said, so she already handed me the drink. It takes about 4 swigs of it, 5. And in about 15 minutes, his hands started shaking. He was dropping his prayers that he was saying. his holy cards, but I knew he didn't have enough in the system
What?
of the halcyon.
What is halcyon?
Halcyon's a sleeping pill. It's strong as can be.
Wait, your father was taking halcyon on his own even though he's losing his mind?
No, the doctor was giving it to him. He was prescribing it to him.
To your father? But your father was overusing the halcyon.
He told the doctor, I'm going to take what it takes to put me to sleep at night.
And your doctor said, his doctor said, okay, do what you got to do?
Yeah. He's taking my
And then
medicine.
since you and Mary Beth knew that he was overtaking it, you thought that would be the way because it wouldn't be suspected that you gave him halcyon because he was overdosing himself. Okay. So that was your plan. So you would dissolve 7 halcyons in alcohol.
But instead of putting
Right.
2 shots in a cup of vodka, she filled the whole thing up with soda and all that other stuff.
Right, made like a real drink.
Yeah. And she added to him. So he took it out.
She calls this guy a monster, the guy that turned her in. He sounds like a good man. As you listen to him, you'll see what I mean, why he's a good man.
To knock him for a loop. Really knock him for a loop. But this is very hard for me, Anthony.
I know.
I've never told anybody this.
I guess not.
And
I
obviously,
mean,
I would deny it if you don't tell anybody.
why would I tell somebody what you guys are going to do? You said the body's cremated.
Yes, it's good.
Your father's cremated.
We've been through an investigation. The police
Who investigated?
The police were there.
Police are where?
Okay. Well, so let me tell you. He lay down on the couch.
Wait, this was 7 years ago?
4.
4 years ago?
Yeah.
You killed your father 4 years ago.
You have to say it like that?
Well, but
and
that's-
don't just say it to me because it's my sister too.
And Mary Beth.
All 3 of them.
We didn't kill him.
Well, euthanasia is not legal.
Well, it is because hospice does it all the time. They give you the lethal dose of morphine. I've seen it. I've done it myself.
So you think that if you...
So she's a murderer.
Your father's suffering and no
I told you she did it before. I told you she did it. I told you she murdered patients.
medical... But he was at home. He wasn't taken to the hospital. You think it's upon yourself. Look, I'm not trying to give you a hard time. But did you really think it was upon yourself to decide whether he should be euthanized? I mean, they arrested that Jack Kevorkian
He
guy.
didn't want to go to the place that this beautiful place that he was going to
So
go.
hire a fucking nurse, you fucking
He
moron.
didn't want to refuse to go.
But you told me, I asked you in the beginning of this, if he asked for euthanasia, and you said no.
Well, in his will, he had a DNR, but he didn't. You don't ask for euthanasia.
Well, you do if you want it. That's why they bring in that Jack Kevorkian guy to help them. But what I'm trying
He's
to say
right.
is, the very first thing I asked you when the conversation started is like, you...
If her father wanted to be killed, he would have asked them. If her father wanted him to die, he would have asked them.
euthanized your father. You said yes. And I said, did he ask for euthanasia? And you said no.
So it's murder.
We made the decision. Okay?
Right, you and Mary Beth made the decision.
Yes.
Your sister and you decided that euthanasia was the best thing for him.
Yes.
Imagine this guy knowing he had sex with both these sisters, and they're such horrible people.
Medically wise, I knew with a big giant mass in his lung that he had maybe months to live, and he had lost his mind. Maybe he was wrong. Why do you think I battle every day with it? He went to sleep.
Okay.
We thought he was
Dead.
dead.
And? He
He
wasn't.
opened his eyes.
He opened his
He
eyes.
looked at us.
He looked at you.
And I said, now what do we do?
You asked her now what to do.
I said, what do we do now?
Leave him.
So
I
then,
don't know if I can even tell the rest of it.
you put a pillow over his face.
Yeah, we did. Not a pillow, but we did.
By pinching his nose? Did you pinch your father's nose? How did you do it?
I can't talk
What do you mean you can't talk? You already told me. This is the only way to get it off your chest. You've never told anybody. You might as well finish. So I know, and you know, the truth has been told. Did you pinch his nose and hold his mouth?
How he had the guts to interrogate this woman without, like, knowing what she's, like, telling him as it's going on.
That's probably why you're having problems right now, mental problems. But you do.
Like other people said, I read in the comments, this guy should be working with the police because he's really good at interrogations.
Right. You realize you can't tell a therapist this, right?
No, I can't tell therapist. We can't tell anybody.
Can't tell anybody.
Well, anyway, there's no proof of it.
There's evidence if you admitted it. If you walked into the police and admitted you did that, there would be evidence. What if she does? What if she goes crazy? Your sister, Mary Beth, is crazy. What if she goes crazy one day and walks in and admits it? You would just deny it. And you think that...
Stand there and admit that I killed my father? Not me, but we did.
Who pinched his nose?
She did.
And did you hold his mouth?
We washed all that.
You put a washcloth in his mouth? How can you live with yourself?
It's hard, Anthony. It's very hard.
No, it's
He
not.
was alive and you ended his life.
She admitted to overdosing patients in morphine and all that. She's a murderer.
I know I did.
Did you guys discuss the money before you did this? How you could inherit?
No.
It had nothing to do with money?
Nothing to do with money.
Are you
What
sure?
we were living with. What we saw, and the doctor just told me, your father has a massive cancerous, his whole lung is full of cancer. He may have 2 months left to live.
But there's been miracles in the past.
Okay, so what do you want me to do now?
Even if there's no miracles and the guy's sick, at least make his last days sweet and nice and comforting and light and loving and comfortable. His last moments were of his 2 daughters killing him, murdering him. Like, that's the way he went. Like,
Well, that's the police.
I didn't say to do that. Only you know what will set you free.
Nothing will set me free.
You can't decide that a miracle of modern medicine couldn't have saved him and cleared his cancer out.
Never in a million years.
You can't decide that.
The doctor said it. He told me
Fuck the doctor.
He was dying.
But he's not dead. You can't end his life. You know this. You know you can't end a life. You know it's murder.
She called his boyfriend a bad monster. He's a good man.
That's murder. Look at you, little innocent you. You've actually murdered a person in this world. And your own father. I've never murdered a person. I'm dangerous. I'm a dangerous individual. People start fights with me, and I don't just wrestle with them. I pound them into oblivion. And I've never murdered anybody. I can't believe it. I've even wanted to in the past. I've even
So
thought.
what are you going to do?
What do you mean?
Then I told you.
I can't believe that you murdered.
Not me. Me and my sister.
I can't believe it
It's
either.
just not me. We made a decision together as a
She's a
family.
dumbass. You're the ringleader. You know that. The first person to think, let's just euthanize him was you. You know that. And she agreed.
No, that's not true.
You both said it at the same time.
We-
You went 1, 2, 3, let's
We
euthanize.
both decided at the same time because actually,
You know something? Since they did this to their father, the two sisters, they won't even trust each other. Because they know that they both colluded to do this to their own flesh and blood, their own father. So now who's to say that her own sister is not going to plot with another brother or sister or relative to kill her, you know?
you don't know my sister. My sister has a temper 10 times worse than I do.
Why did she have a temper? Why was this ending his life anything to do with a temper? She's mad at him?
Yes, they had terrible arguments because he didn't want to go into Brookfield.
So she was mad at him when she murdered him.
Yes, he was mad at him.
So that really is
I
murder.
talked to the doctor, and I knew he was dying. But him and her had been fighting since Shirley died.
Who's Shirley?
It's the person he's with 20 years.
Shirley Tameselli?
No, Shirley Shannon. Never married.
Shirley Shannon?
Never married her.
Shirley Shannon? She never took his name?
They're not married.
Okay, but here's the thing. You
He's
knew
so
he was gonna
angry.
die. Look, you say you knew he was going to die, but you don't really know. You heard from the doctor he was going to die. Did you ever hear of this diagnosis? Did you ever hear that? Please tell me you've been in the medical profession. Have you ever heard of the doctor amputating the wrong leg? Have you ever heard him saying, I'm sorry to tell you this, your father's got
What
a...
are you gonna? What are you trying to do? Make me feel? What do you want?
I'm just saying, I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off. That you murdered your own father. You said he was the greatest guy ever.
He was. That's why we did it because we.
No, you said Mary Beth was actually
Her father was the greatest guy ever, so that's why she murdered him.
married him, so she was angry and she had a temper. She was happy to murder him for different reasons. True?
I wanted to put him out of his misery.
But she was mad at him. True?
Yeah, she was mad.
So it could be said that she did it with malice. You know what I mean? In a way. So maybe she's more to blame. Like she's mad and she's like, let's just kill him. I'm sick of his ass.
Use the word kill.
I wonder if this tape would have been admissible in the court of law. You know, because it's like confession, which is not coerced, but she didn't agree to it, you know, to be recorded.
Let's euthanize him.
Use the word put him out of his misery.
But she was mad at him. You just admitted it. You said, you don't know my sister. She's got a temper 10 times mine. And they were fighting, and she was happy to pinch his nose.
I don't know if she was happy, but at the time, that was the only thing we could do at this point.
Call the ambulance, you moron.
See, you don't know if this ever got out and my family found out.
I'm not telling your family. What the fuck is that going to do? It's not going to bring him back.
Bring him back. Are you kidding me?
Right.
They would probably try to put us in jail.
Good, they should go in jail.
I don't even think there's a statute of limitations on murder. And forget about a cremated body. That's not going to matter. If Mary Beth tells them she pinched his nose and you put a rag in his mouth, that's enough.
Well, we're not going to say that. Well, now you can hate me even more.
I don't hate you. I pity you. How can you? I could never. I just couldn't imagine.
Well, you didn't see my father.
Okay, so you saw him and he was, but it's not your place. I still can't get over it. And you're saying that Mary Beth had a mean streak in her, and I do see that in her. So and whoever mentioned about the doctor saying there's a mass and he might die, again, it could have been misdiagnosis. I'll call you up.
Exactly. She's right. It could have been a misdiagnosis.
What if the
Happens
doctor
all the
saw a
time.
mass and then it was the wrong film? You didn't see it.
He only had cancer. It spread.
I'm just saying there was a Listen, why are you arguing? What if there was a misdiagnosis? But what if it what? What if it was? Accidents happen, right? I said somebody cuts off the wrong leg. What if they said, oh, I called you back. It's the wrong film. I'm looking at something.
Do and say to you. I have to live with this every day of my life.
But, okay, I'm just saying.
Yeah, she says she has to live with it every day of her life, but then she calls it a good thing what she did. She calls it euthanasia.
They looked at the wrong film. They were going to call you back the next day and say, your father's actually, it's not metastasizing. It's actually getting better. He's not breathing for another reason. Just bring him into the hospital and we'll fix him. But it's too late because you put a rag in his mouth. You see what I'm saying? Please tell me you see what I'm saying.
I see what you're saying.
Okay, so you still murdered him because he could have went in for medical treatment. You're not allowed to do
He
that.
lost his mind.
You don't know that he could have got his mind back.
How?
It's not your-
He had Alzheimer's, dementia. They were gonna put him in the
But he's a
hospital.
human.
He's gonna watch
They're
You
him.
playing
can't
God,
live
they're
his
playing God.
life.
I see it every day. Hospitals living like they kill people.
No, they don't.
They get the lethal dose of morphine. What are you
Who
telling
says
me?
they can do that?
They do it.
On purpose to murder them.
Absolutely.
But that's against the law too, correct?
They do it.
But is it against the law?
It's against the law, and they do it.
You've seen hospitals do that.
I have seen hospitals do it.
Well, if she's seen do it, then she has the liability. She needs to go and report them. Or she's guilty of it herself.
You working for this Dr. Major?
They overdose you with morphine. That's it. It's ended. You're dead.
And they say he died for another reason? They let the morphine wear off?
No, the morphine kills him, puts him in the respiratory.
But then when they do an autopsy, they just say the morphine is worn off?
They give you, you're in so much pain.
Mhm.
Whatever's killing you, you are asking.
He has a point when they go take the body for autopsy, even in the hospice. They look in the system what killed this person. Maybe they wouldn't. That's the thing. Maybe they wouldn't do an autopsy on the person who's in hospice, because then, oh, they obviously died of this disease. But then there are people who are getting killed, like she's saying, by overdose of morphine. So they should probably do autopsy to check that there's no foul play.
The biggest dose you can get. I want more morphine.
Okay.
And they give it to you and they kill you.
Okay, whatever. Getting back to Mary Beth, I think when you mentioned he's sick, she probably said, let's kill him because she was mad at him. Okay, let's end his misery. But she was doing it out of malice because you just told me she was so mad at him from arguing. True?
They argue a lot.
So true, there was some malice involved in what she did. So she's more to
If I
blame.
had to say yes, there was malice involved because they were having horrible arguments.
So
She left for a few days and I was alone myself with my niece.
but I was trying to she had no qualms when you said who first said
I
let's
don't remember who exactly first said let's do it, but we were laying in bed together.
It was her daughter? She's trying to blame it on her daughter, maybe? She said in the other interview that it was her daughter, so she wants to blame it her daughter.
It was only 4 years ago, my dad. It's literally 64 years.
Where did you guys live in Palm Harbor?
My father, we went to stay with him.
Where was his house?
In Wexford West.
What?
Wexford West.
Wexford West?
Wexford. Now what are you doing? Planning on doing something to me?
What do you mean?
Because now you have me afraid that I knew I shouldn't have told you.
No,
Have you told anybody about that? I said, no, I have not.
why is she scared?
Because she doesn't trust you.
Well, who did she tell?
Nobody. And I told nobody.
In this whole life, nobody knows, just you and her, and now me. Listen.
What an honor. What a privilege and honor. Now she's confiding in this guy.
You were too, right?
What do you think?
Yes, I do.
I know I'm more sense, yes.
You might go to hell. You actually might go to hell. I don't know how to undo that. You killed a person, and it was your father. That's actually specifically called out in the Bible.
He's right. He's
They're-
right. One of the commandments in the Bible is to honor your parents. Honor your parents and take care of them. And she did the opposite. She's going to hell.
This person sired you. You would be here.
Exactly.
You might go to hell.
It's just common sense, and he has to lecture this like 6-year-old woman.
What are you going to do? You're going to suffer?
I ask for forgiveness every day.
It doesn't work that way.
She doesn't, because if you look in the previous interrogation, when she was pulled into the police, she feels she did the right thing, still to this day.
It says God forgives who asks.
Really? For murder?
Mm-mm.
Next, you're going to tell me that John the Baptist was a murderer. And then he got recruited.
So you pulled it out of me, and I told you.
Pulled it out of you?
Why
You didn't-
I'm so.
How did I pull it out of you? I asked you what the hell's wrong with you, and you started saying there's some secret I've been keeping that I've never told anybody, so I asked you. I said, tell me. How's that pulling it out? You were willing to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Were you not?
Mm-hmm.
Were you not?
I told you out of my free will, yes, but I would deny it.
Well, I'm not asking you to say it to anybody else. If you ever tell anybody else, you'll definitely go to prison. And then you go to hell.
Mm-hmm.
I still know you may go be pissed at me and tell someone anyway.
I'm not going to tell anybody, and if I do, they can. That's way far disconnected from your own admission.
And then he went right after her to the police.
I asked you to tell me what your secret was, and you said, let me begin by telling you, and I'm telling you of my own free will. I said, tell me, it'll set you free. So you were not coerced to make this admission.
You set me free.
Do you feel better?
I'll never feel better.
You stuffed a fucking rag in your father's mouth so he couldn't breathe, and your sister held his nose. I don't think there's anything worse.
Can you imagine that? Can you even picture that?
Like I said, possibly all the fighting I used to do or whatever, I thought I could maybe kill somebody someday. But
But I don't look at it as killing you.
why not? He was breathing, and then by your hand, he stopped breathing. With a
Exactly.
rag in his mouth. Look at these forensic files.
And he was alive and he was lucid. He was conscious.
The hospital was not involved. The police were there for. They laid my father on the floor. He was there for 10 hours. during
But you
investigation.
told me, the one thing you did tell me about your father is that you tried to give your father CPR, and that's the one, see, that's a lie. You have to admit that's a lie. You're like, I was giving him yes, it's a lie.
I knew he was dead.
You knew he was dead. But you said that the
I
paramedics,
knew he was dead because
you killed him.
Because he his pants. And I knew he was, yes, I knew he was dead.
but you did it for more of a show. When the paramedics came in, you were doing chest compressions. Admit it.
I didn't.
Because you told me early on when I first met you, you're like, this terrible thing happened, I had to give my own father chest compressions.
In the interrogation, she said her sister did chest impressions. So, is she lying or not?
Because I just wouldn't accept that he wasn't
Well,
dead.
at that point, it is true. I was probably in my mind trying to
No, you knew he was dead.
I knew he was dead, but I thought maybe I could bring him back to life.
So that, but you, when the
I
paramedics,
know, I'm a terrible person, so what do you want me to
you
do?
called the paramedics, and when you called them, and that's when you started chest compressions.
No, I started immediately. I walked over to him, I thought,
Oh, really? So the paramedics got there, and you were still doing chest compressions. They had to pull you off, you said. But just 2 seconds ago, you said you admitted. I said you were doing chest compressions just for show. I admit it, and you said yes, I admit it.
what is this, judge and jury now?
But you admitted it 2 seconds ago. You said I admit, yes, I admit it. You knew he was dead. You were just doing that for more than trying to save him because you knew he was dead. You're not stupid. You're not stupid. But doing chest compressions when the paramedics walked in was a nice touch to make sure that they thought you were really trying
Well,
to run.
thanks, Anthony.
But is it true? It was a nice touch, though, right? You know that. It was a little bit show, right?
I like that he's taunting her, you know? He is taunting her.
Because you knew he was dead. Before the paramedics got in there and pulled you off, like you said they pulled you off. So, but you knew he was dead. You knew what you were doing wasn't going to revive him. True? This is bad. 4 years ago. Mary Beth could tell on me, and I don't know anything about the law, but the statute of limitations I always heard was 7 years.
I mean, she was involved in it. She did it.
I always heard statute of limitations for crimes of 7 years, but I think murder is...
It's forever.
is
Unless...
So you're going to call police on me?
I didn't say that.
You think I'm a terrible person?
I think you're a confused and deranged person.
And my sister was too.
I think she has mental issues that go beyond yours.
Agreed.
I think it's deranged that you killed your father with a rag.
Well,
I've never met anybody that murdered anybody that admitted it. I'm kind of shocked to be
you
sitting...
think those people, we didn't murder him. We euthanized him.
Oh, my God. You're a smart lady. You're going to get us...
She euthanized him. She didn't murder him. This woman's out of her rocker.
See, now that scares me that you have a gun. Like, you murder. You're a murderer.
No, I would never murder anybody.
Just keep that gun sitting next to your bed saying Ted was going to come after you.
I would never murder anyone. She murdered her father, fucking bitch.
I
Cunt.
would never hurt anybody.
But you killed your father. Why can't you use the word kill? He was alive, and then at your hand, he was dead.
Ouch.
Say, I killed my father. Say it. Say it.
Burnt myself.
I say it because I feel that's what we did to him. I feel like I put him out of his misery.
She's a
As
psychopath.
a result of dying, he stopped suffering. But isn't that called murder? Isn't that called murder when you end a person's life? It's a homicide. You know when a cop shoots a suspect, it's a homicide, and he gets suspended, and they investigate a homicide. It's a homicide. Now they find out if it's justified. Was what you did called homicide?
Yes, I feel the person.
Stop it. Was it homicide? Okay, it was homicide. Then you have to feel what's justified. The cops shooting the bank robber, they investigate it, they find out it was justified. You doing it to your father because he had a mask, they may not find out that that's justified. They may not think that's justified. You could go to the fucking electric chair or whatever they do here in Florida.
She should go to the electric chair.
Lethal injection. I don't know. Like Ted Bundy. They still have that here in the state. Doesn't matter how old you are. You should be scared. You should be. I don't know how you live with that every day. I really don't.
It's very hard.
It's not hard enough.
I can't believe it. And Mary Beth, and she was mad at him at the time. To think of you two over that old man who couldn't move, and they're saying, yeah, let's do it. I'm mad at him anyway.
No, we did not say that.
But she was quick to do it because you told me she has a mean streak in her, and you said you don't know her temper. She did it with malice. She might be more to blame than you. There was malice in her heart to end her own father's life. True? Possibly. She was mad at him. She had told you she was mad at him. She had no problem participating.
We were having screaming matches.
She had no problem participating in the euthanasia.
The guy was lucid. They were having screaming matches, and then she goes and kills him when he's lucid. And he sees and he's conscious.
True? Because she was mad at him. You might have had a different, you might have had a motive that you really cared about his suffering. She might have had a little bit of that, but she had no problem saying, let's get rid of this old bastard. He just pisses me off. True?
I
True.
don't know if I can say that. I just know that they were arguing terribly. My father was arguing with her often.
20 minutes ago you told me, you don't know my sister. She participated and she was so mad at him.
My sister has a very bad temper. You don't know.
Okay, but that's part of the reason that she participated. True?
I don't know her reasons. I just know my reasons. My father was suffering.
But if you had to get-
Alzheimer's, and he was dying of cancer. He couldn't breathe.
Right, but she was not as
He would be
concerned.
going through torture and in the hospital, and they were going to do surgery and cut him open, and he was going to die probably within weeks.
Maybe. That's not your call. But your sister was
That's not my
but your
fault.
sister was angry at him, right?
Yes, they had been fighting every day.
So there's a possible motive there. True?
I am who am I to judge? How am I to judge?
Do you,
I
if you,
wasn't
no, you're
involved
smart,
in it.
but you're smart. Do you believe that your sister possibly had a different motive? That she was mad? That helped her make the call to say, yeah, let's do it.
I don't know.
What do you think?
I don't know.
What do you
I
think?
don't know what to say to that.
20 minutes
I
ago
can
you
only
said...
tell you that they were arguing terribly, and my dad was saying terrible things to her, and she was saying terrible things.
So when you're mad at somebody, and there's malice, and you don't mind participating in the murder, euthanasia, whatever you want to call it, homicide, don't you feel that there's a motive of malice? I don't want you to sound like a stupid person right now. Don't you agree?
My sister and I have been through so
Do you
much.
agree that there's a motive when there's malice? That's another motive.
Right now, she hates me to death.
Isn't that a motive though? That she was mad? Don't you think she didn't mind pinching his nose shut while he did?
She should be afraid of her sister. Because she says her sister hates her to death. She should be careful.
And got a little bit of relief, thinking he will never yell at her again. He's old anyway, and maybe she loved him for his whole life, but now he's just a pain in the ass. She didn't mind pinching his nose shut.
How can I say that? I can only tell you what I observed before.
You observed that he was sick. He wasn't breathing, but you never took him to the hospital.
You know, in Sharia law, if someone did something like this, they would get, like, their hands cut off. You know what I mean? A woman from, like, Yemen or one of those countries, she told me that, like, there's a Jewish community in Yemen or one of those Middle Eastern countries. They had Sharia law, and basically these Middle Eastern people who hated the Jewish community, they came to her father's store or whatever, or her cousin's store, and they killed him. And because I think it was in Morocco, because the king was very sympathetic towards the Jews, the Jewish community, he gave an option. He said, you can either kill this guy that killed your relative, or you can cut off his hands, whichever one you want. So they said, okay, they said, if we kill this guy, if we put him to death, his relatives will come after us, but let's just spare his life and cut off his hands. That's enough of a punishment. So they said they chopped off his hands and they put it in, like, fire, burning flames, like coal or whatever, to, like, burn it, stop the bleeding. And then they picked up their family, like the Jewish family that had the relative killed. They uprooted their whole family and they moved away to get away from there, because the murderer's relatives would take revenge on the family. So just thought to throw that in.
She was mad that he had been yelling at her, right?
He did go to the doctor. He had the chest X-ray. And the doctor called me and told me.
No.
So what do you want me to do? Go turn myself in and go to jail?
What do you think that would help you?
No.
Why? You could go to death row.
She knows she could go to death row, yet, and she knows that what she did was wrong, yet she still thinks her behavior was justified.
You deserve that? Why?
I feel I put my father out of the misery he was going through and going to go through even worse.
Okay. This is more than I can even absorb. I've never been in the presence. I might have been in the presence of a murderer, but I've never been in the presence of a murderer that told me you're a murderer. This is brand new for me. I'm 53 years old, and you're 62 or 3. 62 still? Excuse me.
61.
This is terrible.
61.
This is terrible.
I know. So what are you going to do?
What do you mean, what am I going to do? What can I do? You just said you would deny it. I know that I would never trust you.
My question is, like, how does she not see him taking a video of her?
Ordinary death. With anything delicate, because you've killed your own father. And I think if you did that only 4 years ago, this wasn't fucking 30 years ago. This was 4 years ago. In 2000.
30 years ago, you were even young.
Well, he was calling you your mother's name, and he was 87 years old.
Yes, he had Alzheimer's.
So what?
His name was Anthony as well?
Yes.
Anthony Tameselli?
Yes.
Your father's name was Anthony Tameselli?
Yes, Anthony Johnson.
And he was 87 4 years ago? He would have been 91 now? This happened right here in Palm Harbor, Florida. Unbelievable. This is one of those things you see on the forensic files that remake the whole murder. They don't care that they thought there was a motive or not. They don't care about your motive. They care about solving crimes of who ends people's lives.
Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, I'm always one wearing a black cowboy hat, but I've never murdered anybody, and I never thought I could come close to it unless they were hurting me or my family. I think I could probably do it to protect, but never to end a life because I thought it was my right.
Well, you didn't work in the medical profession for 30 years.
Fuck that, Linda. That doesn't give you.
Begging you to help him.
That's not. You're not God. You're not judge, jury, and executioner or God. You know that.
Right.
Right? That's why you fear hell right now.
And her own father told her when she tried to stick him in a mental home, I mean, not in a mental home, in the institution where he would be with the old people, he said, you can't sell my house. This is my house. You're not the judge, jury, and executioner. She said it herself.
Yes. Because you know people aren't supposed to do that. End other people's lives.
Do I have a choice? Am I like, yes? Am I going? No.
No.
I don't.
You don't.
She better be afraid, because if you watch any, like, paranormal, like, stuff, you know, there's a real, there's many entities out there on the other side, or even on this side, which we can't see, that come to claim the life. When the person goes, there are entities. If you're a good person, then you have, like, your family come to take you to the light, or you have the dark angels or the dark entities, the demons that come to take you to a very bad place where you suffer endlessly. So I don't know what's gonna be her fate.
Shit. What's today's date? Approximately. It's the 12th of February? Wait a minute. What month are we in? Today's Tuesday? 12th of February? I'm not even writing 2019 yet. Are you able to write 2019? I'm messing it up and everything. Like I put, today's February 12th, 2019. I put February 12th, 2018. I can't stop doing it. It's just a habit.
Okay, so that's what I ended.
I think that what you did was reprehensible, and I just can't imagine you living with yourself.
I got it from the other YouTube channel. Wow. Can you imagine? Let's see the picture of the euthanized father. This is the ex-boyfriend. He comes to the police station. Let's see what he has to say.
I'm gonna try to do that. Okay, that's fine. And then what I'm gonna do is you go to your anywhere in this building that you can find a thumb drive. Yes, sir. And I'll give it to you. This way, this will stay. Now, you said you received some. So let's start from the beginning, okay? What made you contact us? Yeah. Well, I was told by a friend. And who's that friend? Linda Roberts. When did you see her? Yesterday. Yesterday. How long have you known her? Since I believe it was like September of last year. What's your relationship with her? Friends. Friends, any intimate relationship? There was. Okay. I want you to be. See, the thing is, I want you to be very honest with me. Okay. So, just tell me what happened. What transpired with this? With which part? With this whole yesterday's. How did you meet her? I met her sister first. Okay. I was married at Tameselli. Okay. When did you meet her? September. September. I think it was, or it would have been late August. I think.
So that's him talking.
I can actually tell you. I don't really know the date. Okay. Oh, was it 2018? Yes, it was. It was August or September, somewhere like that. Where did you guys meet at? We met through Facebook. What? Do you have a Facebook? Yeah, I'm not anymore. Okay. And this is Mary Beth. Mm-hmm. So how did you guys meet through Facebook? What? Just talking to each other. She was interested in musicians. She was interested in the shows I play.
He's a musician.
I was over there at sometime around, sometime between then and noon. I believe it was close to. And when she texted you, what did she say? She just wanted you. She just texted me a bunch of, just you're selfish type, just weird things. And then she said she wanted to talk to me, and then she called me and told me to come over. She called me on my phone, told me to come over.
You know, this could have been a setup. She could have been setting him up to just kill him because she didn't like him, you know?
And I believe it was around noon that I was over there. So you went to her house around noon? Sometime around noon, yeah. And what ended up, so you get there around noon? Mm-hmm. Okay. She starts into a conversation. And she wanted to tell me why she acts so, not for lack of a better word, back and forth. She vacillates a lot. She curses me out, and she begs me to come talk to her. That's been going on from the beginning. She takes Ambien at night, and she mixes it with alcohol, she says. I don't know. She denied that after she said that. She said that in the beginning of the relationship. She said she takes Ambien, and she's sorry sometimes if she has a drink. So I really should say that. I can't assume that she mixes Ambien with alcohol.
She told you. She didn't see it.
I didn't see it. She said, I'm sorry, I took my Ambien, and I think I also had a drink.
Yeah, so that's the story of the
Right.
So
the sisters who did it. So you see, that's the guy.
So she wanted to talk to me. I got there because I had been ignoring her. She went on a cruise for a week, and she just got back. All right. I appreciate you.
Probably about 2 or 3 in the morning, my sister said, why don't we go lay in Dad's bed and get some rest? He's sleeping his quiet.
So you get the gist, right? You definitely get the gist of what happened. So let's go look at the father. Let's show you a picture of the father. Let's see. Let's find the picture of the father. Paste. Father. Okay, so these are the two sisters. Let's see these.
Sheriff Galtieri calls it the perfect murder. Investigators initially ruled that 85-year-old Anthony Tameselli died of natural causes. 4 years went by. No one suspected any foul play. That is until Sheriff Galtieri says one of that man's daughters ran her mouth about how her father actually died.
Just a nice guy, quiet. Totally shocked.
March 6, 2015, 85-year-old Tony
So that's the guy.
Tameselli died, seemingly in his sleep, at his Palm Harbor home. He'd been sick, suffering from cancer and dementia. His daughters, Mary Beth Tameselli and Linda Roberts, said they found him and called 911.
There were no signs of foul play, no signs of criminal activity, nothing to indicate anything other than Anthony's death was of natural causes.
That is until last month. The Pinellas Sheriff's Office got a call from a man who'd been involved in a relationship with both women.
It all unraveled for them from there.
He said Roberts confided in him that she and her sister killed their dad in 2015, wanting to euthanize him because he had health issues and didn't want to go to assisted living. He recorded video and audio of the confession.
They gave him the sleeping pills or the alcohol, hoping that was their plan to kill him that way. When that didn't work, they tried to suffocate him with a pillow. That didn't work, so they stuck a rag down his throat and pinched his nose and held his arms until he stopped breathing.
Mary Beth Tameselli admitted she gave sleeping pills to her adult daughter, who was also there that night so she wouldn't witness the killing. After his death, the sister sold his home and split the profits with a brother who was not involved in the killing.
I didn't ever in my wildest dreams think that happened to Tony.
Tuesday, nearly 4 years later to the day, the sisters were arrested for killing their own father. Neighbors who knew Tony are shaken to the core.
A rag in his throat? That's a horrible way. I hope they rot in hell. God's going to take care of him. The dear Lord up above knows.
During their interviews, detectives say that Linda Roberts and Mary Beth Tameselli, both admitted to killing their own father, both are charged with first-degree murder.
Can you imagine? Let's see this.
It is a disturbing story. A father dies, and then 4 years later, his daughters are charged with his murder.
What was initially considered a natural death is now a murder investigation, with the sisters sitting behind bars. 10 News reporter Madison Allworth went to the courthouse today for their first appearance.
You're charged with murder in the first degree.
Sisters Linda Roberts and Mary Beth Tameselli have both been charged with first-degree murder, exactly 4 years after their father passed away. On March 6, 2015, the sisters called police and claimed they found their father dead on his couch in his home. Because of his age and medical condition, it was ruled a natural death. Today, they are telling a different story. Linda reportedly told a friend in February that because her father didn't want to go to an assisted living facility, she and her sister would hasten the process and, quote, euthanize him. The sisters admitted to giving their father alcohol mixed with excessive sleeping pills. When that didn't work, they reportedly tried to...
She's not wearing a bra. Why don't they give the inmates a bra?
...suffocate him. Linda stuffed a cloth in his mouth while Mary Beth held his nose. The admission came as a surprise to neighbors of Linda.
The funny thing is, when she moved in, my wife's a nurse. She's been a nurse 35 years, and she said she was a nurse, so they had something like in common, and my wife says, oh, it's good that somebody's moved upstairs that has the background that I have.
But now, the neighbors don't feel as lucky.
If she did that, bad thing. I'm retired. I'm in my 70s myself.
Wow.
I wouldn't want what I've seen in the papers, what they did to that man. I hope that's not true.
Police reports say Mary Beth's daughter, Lauren, was in the home when her grandfather was killed.
At the end of the day, it was all about money. They took his house, they sold it, they split the money, they got their inheritance.
Say she was given sleeping pills so she wouldn't wake up during the incident.
You know, my father said about his mother, she had no money. She came from Russia as a Jewish refugee to the United States. She had no money. My father left Russia with $100 in his pocket. And so they're very poor. They didn't have money. And then my father's never mind. But the moral of the story is that, like, they got in touch with the family that this mother was very rich, and all the kids, the mother was very snobbish, and she turned to my grandmother and she said, this mother who was very rich, like grandmother, she turned to my grandmother who came out of Russia with $100 in her pocket, and she said, isn't it hard to be poor? Like, she was trying to put down my grandmother. But then my grandmother turned to her and she said, well, at least my kids are not waiting for me to die so they can take my money. And then that woman, the grandmother, she started looking around at all her grandkids and all her nieces and nephews like, oh, who wants my money? You know, she became suspicious. So that was a good comeback from my grandmother. Her name was Fega.
We went to Mary Beth's current residence.
May she rest in peace.
But no one answered.
Today, both sisters are awaiting trial with no bond.
No bond. Whew. Wow. Can you imagine? So that's the story of these two monstrous sisters. Anyway, thank you for watching. And, sorry I haven't been doing tarot readings. Free tarot readings. I'll get there soon. Anyway, have a nice day. Your screen will stop and you'll know.